The Watership Down podcast is intended for listeners who are familiar with the plot. There will be spoilers. This episode is scripted, recorded, edited and narrated by Newell Fisher. Hello, and welcome to the Watership Down podcast episode 165, in which we will be looking at Season 3, Episode 13 of the TV series and Episode 39 of the series overall, the last episode of the entire series, The Magic. Again, there is no burrow keeping this week, as I'm saving it up for next week, so let's get straight back to the action. TV series Season 3, Episode 13, The Magic. The 39th and last episode of the Watership Down TV series was first broadcast in Canada on the 4th of December 2001. It was written by Mary Crawford and Alan Templeton, and its far better German title was The Last Battle. There will be a link to the episode in the notes. This last episode of the series is introduced by repeating the scene from the previous episode in which Woundwort at Darkhaven said that Watership Down will be destroyed. It is introduced by Woundwort's voice. After the title sequence, we find ourselves right in the middle of an attack on Watership Down. The army of Darkhaven has finally reached its destination, and the last battle has begun. The attackers are running up the down en masse. Vervain is among them, shouting encouragement. I guess he finds it easy to be brave as part of a large group. Inside Kaya Watership, as I have decided to call the hill fort that has been constructed around the warren on Watership Down, Hazel makes the fairly obvious statement to Fiver and Bigwig that they just need to hold the high ground against the attack. Bigwig comments that this is easier said than done. We see a panoramic shot of the defences on Watership Down. Rabbits stand ready behind the palisade of wooden spikes. Others stand by boulders, ready to be rolled downhill onto the enemy. Unlike the Battle of Watership Down of the novel, that was largely fought on a small scale underground, this will be a very human battle fought above ground. But, like the novel, this will be the decisive battle against General Woundwort, only not involving Efrafa. The Efrafans were last seen in episode 2 of this third season, when they left Watership Down under the leadership of their new leader Moss, following the defeat and destruction of Efrafa in episode 1. But then the still living Woundwort roamed the land, looking for a new warren to lead and dominate, along with his cowardly sidekick Vervain. First they found Redstone Warren, but they were not strong enough for Woundwort, and in any case the warren was about to be destroyed by humans building a road. So Woundwort traded witnessing the destruction of Redstone with Cowslip of the Warren of the Shining Wires in exchange for Silverweed, the psychic poet, whose powers nearly led to the discovery of the location of Watership Down once Woundwort reached Darkhaven, the dreadful warren of his birth, a warren that makes Efrafa look weak in comparison. But it was finally Campion, trying to save the life of his love, the doe Blackberry, who agreed to betray the location of Watership Down, before escaping with Blackberry and the warrior Spartina, who had changed sides to Watership Down, as, of course, has Silverweed. If you were previously unaware of this series, as is very possible, and are just checking how it ends, what I have just said will have made it very clear just how far we have come from the original novel. In fact, we will never be further from it than we are now. What I've just said would normally be included in the Is It Canon section, but for this last episode of the TV series it seemed more relevant here. Hazel Ra, the chief rabbit of Watership Down, orders the first wave of his counterattack. Scree the hawk, with Hannah the mouse on his back, dives at the attackers, sending some of them rolling down the slope. Scree then attacks Woundwort directly, but he connects with a vicious swipe of his claws, sending Hannah flying. Scree recovers and picks up Hannah just in time, managing to fly back up the slope to the warren. Woundwort orders the attack to continue. Scree lands badly inside the palisade. His wing is hurt, and he will not fly again in this battle. Hazel Ra orders the boulder rollers to stand ready. They push the boulders to their tipping point. Hazel gives the order. The boulders start to roll down the slope. Woundwort orders his army to scatter. They run back down the slope, but Woundwort then turns and faces the boulders, dodging them as they pass him before running again. The boulders have done their work, but there are no more of them. Hazel orders Pipkin, the ambassador to other ally species, to call in the high attack. This turns out to consist of a flock of birds dropping a shower of acorns on the enemy. Unsurprisingly, it isn't very effective, momentarily causing some chaos as rolling acorns cause warriors to lose their footing, but then Woundwort orders the attack to continue. Hazel orders Yona the Hedgehog to commence the next counterattack, rolling quills. This consists of a line of hedgehogs rolling themselves down the hill in a manner somewhat reminiscent of Sonic the Hedgehog, a video game character who had been around for 10 years at that point. This surely suicidal hedgehog attack causes another temporary retreat and spikes one rabbit's backside in a comedic fashion, but Woundwort presses the assault. There is now nothing for it. The warriors of Darkhaven will reach the top of the hill. The rabbits of Watership Down prepare to fight. At first it is easy to just kick and barge the attackers back down the hill. We see Hazel, Bigwig, Fiver and Campion do exactly this. Then Bark the Badger joins the fray, grabbing 2 rabbits and throwing them back down the hill, knocking Woundwort over in the process. Inevitably he recovers. A group of warriors confront Bigwig, who prepares to fight them. He is joined by his love Spartina, the former warrior of Darkhaven, and they deal with their attackers. And when I say deal with, I do not mean kill. We will not see any death in this battle. This is, at the end of the day, an animation aimed at children. All we will see is rabbits being kicked and barged out of shot. The same as we did during the destruction of Ephrafa, which we were supposed to believe happened with no deaths at all. 2 warriors attack Pipkin so incompetently that one knocks the other away from him. And then Bark is back, picking up rabbits and hurling them away with ease. From the perspective of Darkhaven rabbits looking up the slope, we see the battle raging at the top of the hill. The camera pans upward into a bright blue sky. It is evening now. Frith sits on the horizon. The initial attack is over. Kaya Watership still stands, but is looking the worse for wear. And now we see the 3 captains of Owlsler of Watership Down, 1 current and 2 retired. Captain Bigwig asks Captain Broom, formerly of Redstone Warren, how he is doing. He is clearly exhausted, but says he is ready for more. We see Captain Holly, formerly of Sandalford Warren, lying on his side. He is injured, with a wound in his side. Primrose applies herbs to it. He insists to Hazel that it is just a scratch. Hazel comments to Bigwig that the battle has taken a lot out of them. Bigwig agrees. There are no more boulders. Most of the hedgehogs haven't returned. Scree is injured, and there are a lot of wounded. He says they cannot hold off another attack in the way they just have. Woundwort knows what to expect and will change tactics. Hazel Ra orders Pipkin to tell Darkling the Bat to set up an aerial watch to give advanced warning if Darkhaven starts to move against Watership Down again. Pipkin salutes and moves off. A string of night guards will be set up. Everyone else is to get back to the Warren. Everyone other than the night guard is gathered in the honeycomb. Hawkbit thinks this is a bad time to have a gathering, but Dandelion is optimistic, saying that Hazel probably has a brilliant plan. Hawkbit is sceptical and distracts himself by flirting with Clover, who reciprocates. It seems they are an item now. 2 other couples now comment on events. Bigwig tells Spartina how much he admired her fighting, but even she is feeling sore. Campion passes with Blackberry. He asks her what if they are destined to lose the last battle. Blackberry reminds him that the Black Rabbit of Inlay told Campion they would survive. Yes, says Campion, but only if one of them gave themselves up to him. Blackberry says she would be willing to do this, but Campion says no. They are back together at last, and he is never losing her again. Hannah the Mouse reassures Scree the Hawk that he will fly again. Not in time to fight, he replies sadly. She turns to Silverweed and asks him if he's sure she won't forget the magic words when the time comes. Silverweed reassures her that she will remember. As Hannah says the hedge wizard told her there would be a high price for using the magic, he places a paw on her head. And suddenly he looks very scared. But to Hannah he says nothing will happen and that she will be fine. But he moves away from her down a run. Fiver accosts him and asks him what lies in Hannah's future. He knows it is bad. Silverweed starts to tell him, but he can't and just says he wishes he couldn't see tomorrow. He tries to seem optimistic, saying that they might not need the magic, Maybe Hazel has a wonderful plan. But Fiver repeats his prophecy, that the battle would be won not with force, but with words, and that this will mean a friend will pay, and they will sorrow. Fiver asks Silverweed directly, if Hannah uses the magic, will she die? Silverweed asks him what he would give to save his friends and Watership Down. Fiver's reply is, anything. Everything. Hazel is talking to his mate Primrose. He doesn't know what to say. It seems he is out of answers. Primrose, this series version of Heisenthray, tells him to do what he always does, give them hope, show them a way through impossible odds, face uncertainty with courage and honour, lead them. Hazel Ra smiles. Realistically, this is a warren preparing for defeat and destruction. But Hazel Ra takes the podium, for in this honeycomb there is room for a small platform, and begins to speak. He says that today they won the first skirmish in the last battle against Woundwort. But Woundwort's army outnumbers them and will keep attacking to the last warrior. He says that if they keep fighting, many of them will die. In the end, he fears they may lose. Primrose looks sad at this. Hazel says it is time to abandon Watership Down. He will stay, he says, and fight to the end, along with any others who want to join him. This will give the others time to escape. It is an effective Henry V moment, and the result is inevitable. Hawkbit pipes up, saying that Hazel is crazy if he thinks he's going to dig another warren. He dresses this up as an aversion to his least favourite activity, but it is actually, of course, a promise to die alongside Hazel. And it provokes a general acclamation. No one is leaving. Primrose asks Hazel if he expected anything less. He supposes he did not. So, Hazel continues, they stay on Watership Down, and they fight for every patch of ground and every burrow until Woundwort's army lies in ruins. They shall never surrender. As Hazel channels Winston Churchill, the assembled crowd cheers. Above ground, the guard's spirits are lifted by the sound. Captain Broom turns to Captain Holly and says that is the sound of victory. Captain Holly replies that it is just a matter of thrashing Woundwort and his Darkhaven army. Details, my boy, details, replies Broom. Hazel might as well have been smoking a cigar and wearing a Homburg hat. The invocation of the Dunkirk spirit of World War II, when Britain, according to its own mythology, stood alone, is thick in the air. And I just realised I mentioned Henry V and Winston Churchill. How ironic that the first of those was actually invading someone else's country. Such are the narratives of nations in adversity. At the base of Watership Down, the army of Darkhaven hear the cheers of Watership Down. Vervain says incredulously that their enemies are outnumbered and are going to be wiped out, and they are cheering. Another abbot says they must be mad. Granite, who was rescued by Campion from drowning in the last episode, says if they are, it's a glorious madness. He now sees why Spartina joined them. They are fearless. Woundwort has heard this and is furious. He confronts Granite, insisting that the rabbits of Watership Down fear him because he is the end of all they believe. He says he is the claw of the Black Rabbit and will tear them from this world. He asks Granite if he would like to join them. Granite gives the required submissive response. Once Woundwort leaves him, Vervain advises Granite never to say anything nice about Hazel and his outsiders. It upsets the general. The style of leadership of the two sides has been reinforced. One uses inspiration, the other just uses fear. But the one who uses fear clearly fears his opponent's ability to lead with inspiration. A council of war is held above ground on Watership Down. Campion warns that Woundwort will be back before dawn. Hazel says they'd better come up with some ideas then. Spartina is amazed to realise there is no plan, but Hawkbit and Dandelion say this is how they generally do things, by muddling along and mucking about. Bigwig ruins this assertion by turning up with a plan. Dandelion wonders if this consists of them running down the hill, ears flapping in the wind. It does not. Campion has told him about Darkhaven's law that if you defeat someone in single combat, you take their rank. He is going to challenge Woundwort and take his place as leader of Darkhaven. Hawkbit jokes that he wouldn't feel comfortable fighting an army commanded by Bigwig. Campion says Bigwig wouldn't stand a chance. Bigwig disagrees. Just because Campion couldn't beat Woundwort doesn't mean he can't. When Hazel agrees, and Bigwig tells Spartina he won't be long, she challenges Hazel. What kind of leader allows his best friend to go to his death? Campion says he is the kind who knows he wouldn't stand a chance, but Bigwig might. Underground, one of the rabbit kittens is asking Pipkin why Woundwort wants to hurt them. Pipkin says he thinks it is because Woundwort was hurt himself, and it made him want to hurt the whole world. Another kitten, Snowdrop, says her father Hazel says you shouldn't hold grudges. Pipkin agrees. They shouldn't hate Woundwort. They should feel sorry for him. Blackberry and Primrose listen. Blackberry comments that she sometimes thinks the youngsters should be in charge. As they move away, we see Hannah with Silverweed. She asks him to stay with her when she uses the magic. He promises he will. Hannah suggests they find a place to watch over the warren, and, of course, the coming battle. The warriors of Darkhaven are sleeping. Bigwig runs in among them, slaps one on the head and cheerfully asks where Woundwort is. The confused warrior points him in the right direction. Bigwig runs forward right into the middle of the Darkhaven camp and shouts for Woundwort in a military fashion, calling him a mangy horror. From the top of the hill, Hazel and his companions listen to the cheers of Darkhaven and hear the fight apparently beginning. They try to reassure themselves. Hazel stays silent. And so a climactic fight that should be taking place underground in a run just off the honeycomb takes place above ground in the middle of a hostile crowd. Bigwig and Woundwort circle each other. Bigwig says how long he's been looking forward to this. Woundwort laughs that he's a bigger fool than he looks. They engage in full combat. The Watership Down rabbits look on nervously. Woundwort eventually manages to throw Bigwig to the ground, apparently unconscious. Vervain looks at Bigwig for some reason with horror. Woundwort laughs and looms over Bigwig. He raises his paws to strike. Hazel closes his eyes sadly. Under a full moon, Woundwort leads another charge up the slope towards what is left of Kaya Watership, the improvised hill fort on Watership Down. They are attacked by bats, which slow them down. Dandelion turns to Hawkbit and says it looks like it's do or die time. Hawkbit says he prefers do. Hazel orders an acorn hail. This is delivered not by birds but by rabbits kicking acorns down the slope. This barely credible tactic causes some chaos among the attackers, as the acorns cause them to slip on the slope of Watership Down. But the attack continues. From a vantage point a little way from the warren, Hannah and Silverweed watch events unfold. Hannah says this is it. The last battle. Where have we heard that phrase before? In episode 1 of this season, when Watership Down destroyed Ephrafa, doubling Woundwort's determination to destroy his enemy. Silverweed tells Hannah it will be all right. He knows it will. The army of Darkhaven has reached the top of the hill. Hawkbit kicks a rabbit away. Hazel barges Granite away. A rabbit attacks Primrose, pinning her down. She is saved by Spartina. Pipkin trips a rabbit into the defensive ditch. The bats continue to harass some rabbits. Bark the badger throws 2 rabbits off and knocks 2 rabbits' heads together. Vervain busies himself not being hit by flying rabbits until one knocks him down. Blackberry kicks dust at a rabbit, who Dandelion then kicks away. Scree the hawk, despite being grounded, chases rabbits at ground level. Campion, attacking Woundwort, is kicked away by him. Woundwort says there will be no quarter this time, meaning mercy. They fight full on. Hannah, looking on, says to Silverweed that they can't hold back the attackers. Hazel orders his Owsla to fall back to the second line. We see the rabbits of Watership Down jump into the defensive ditch and into holes to take them up to the other side. Woundwort triumphantly declares the enemy is broken. They are on the run. He orders his troops to press the attack. The line of Darkhaven warriors rush forward. The Watership Down rabbits emerge from the holes coming up from the defensive ditch of Kaya Watership and block the holes with boulders. But the army of Darkhaven, despite some piling up in the tunnels, leap out of the ditch with ease. We see Woundwort reach the defensive spikes and break through them easily. His warriors are through the defences. They rush towards Watership Down. Hannah tells Silverweed it's time to use the magic. She places her paws together and starts to say the words of the spell. I call upon the wind to scream, the sky to crack. A circle of light forms between her paws, and Silverweed tells her to stop. He tells her he can't let her do this. Hannah draws back from him in shock. She says he's tried to save Woundwort. All this time he's been on his side. Silverweed suddenly grabs Hannah's head in both his paws. She struggles desperately. Hazel is kicking rabbits, trying to leap across the ditch. Dandelion saves Hawkbit from an attack. Spartina kicks another attacker away and says that's for Bigwig. She shouts to Hazel that there are too many. Hazel shouts to pull back. They will make a stand at the warren. Silverweed is holding Hannah's head. He has lifted her off the ground. He tells her to let him into her head. Never, she replies, kicking desperately, and calls him a traitor. And now we are in the other realm. Hannah falls through the sky into yellow flowers. Silverweed floats near her. The tendrils of the flowers catch Hannah and bind her. She begs Silverweed not to do this. She has to save Watership Down. He places one paw on her head and one on her paw. He is calm. As the ring of light appears again, Hannah says that the magic is hers to use. Not any more, says Silverweed, as the ring of light follows his paw as he draws away from Hannah. Back in the physical world, he drops Hannah. He looks towards the battle. The army of Darkhaven seem to be through the last defences. Hazel and his Owsla stand ready at the beech tree. Some of the attackers fall into defensive pits, but the attack continues. Hazel orders everyone underground. They will fight them in the burrows. This last-ditch defence, of course, is where the battle against Efrafa begins in the novel. Indeed, the brief battle against Efrafa in episode 1 of this season took place in the now sealed caverns beneath Watership Down. But here, there will, it seems, be no siege, no digging out of runs, no Fiver in a trance reminding Hazel about the dog at the farm. That tactic was used up in episode 11 of season 2 to get rid of some sheep. This, if it were portrayed properly, will be a full bloody assault on the interior of a warren. Tunnels becoming blocked by the dead, attackers clawing their way past bodies to press the attack, the terrified screams of the young and the dying, our heroes overwhelmed and slaughtered one by one. The honeycomb will eventually fall. Watership Down will be destroyed. With everyone else underground, Hazelrah turns to face Woundwort and his army. Woundwort tells Hazel it is over. His rule now begins. He is the bringer of doom in the name of the Black Rabbit of Inlay. Hazel informs Woundwort that he is a windbag who will have to get past him first. Woundwort attacks, and he and Hazel fight. Hazel cannot possibly defeat Woundwort, but he holds his own for a few seconds. Silverweed is rubbing his paws together. He speaks the words of the spell. I call upon the wind to scream, the sky to crack, the earth to quake. I summon powers from beyond and give myself for my friend's sake. As he speaks these words, a terrible wind begins to blow. Silverweed is lifted from the ground by a miniature tornado and raises his paws to the sky. Hannah looks on amazed. Woundwort has thrown Hazel to the ground. He laughs in his usual cruel way. But now Campion attacks him, emerging from underground. A maelstrom is forming in the sky. There is lightning. Woundwort, ready to attack again, looks up as the winds start to reach him. Hazel and Campion run underground. The earth starts to crack and shake under Woundwort. Darkhaven rabbits begin to be lifted off the ground by the winds. In the honeycomb, the rabbits of Watership Down look up as earth showers from the ceiling. Woundwort is now clinging to the ground as more of his warriors are lifted into the air. Hazel flinches back from the entrance to the warren, where he is watching events unfold. Out of the maelstrom in the sky emerges a dark, ghostly figure. It is the Black Rabbit of Inlay. He stands in front of the beech tree, between it and Woundwort. In amongst the howling winds, Woundwort says he is the Black Rabbit's servant. He is here to do his work. The Black Rabbit responds that his empire is not of this world, and no creature invokes his name for their own dark ends. The rabbits of Darkhaven begin to flee in panic. The Black Rabbit increases the maelstrom. Red lightning emanates from him. The rabbits of Darkhaven are lifted into the sky. Hazel looks on, terrified, as Woundwort, clinging onto the earth, screams at him that he will never stop. As he screams the word never once more, he is lifted into the sky and disappears into the eye of the storm. The storm dies away. The ground stops shaking. The clouds clear away. Primrose emerges from the honeycomb along with the others. Hazel tells her it is over. Woundwort and his army are gone. Bigwig appears, limping and the worse for wear. Spartina runs to him as he says Woundwort has a nasty left slash. He asks what happened. Hawkbit proclaims that he knew Bigwig was too stubborn to be killed. Dandelion adds that he managed to dodge the real fight. Hazel greets his captain of Owsla. Bigwig is about to find out what happened when we hear Hannah desperately shout Hazel's name from trees nearby. They all run to join her. Hannah is holding Silverweed's paw. She says he took the magic from her and used it himself. She says, look what it did to him. Silverweed is alive and conscious. He even looks happy. But he is now a very old rabbit. Fiver repeats part of his prophecy. A friend will pay and we will sorrow. In his now very old voice, Silverweed says not to sorrow for him. He is content. As the rabbits of Watership Down look at him horrified, he adds that they are all safe. His power to see tomorrow is gone. He is free of it now. Silverweed looks at the birds in the sky. He says, life is sweet, my friends. Watership Down survives. The dream lives on, forever. They all make their way back to the lone beech tree on Watership Down.
Life is sweet, my friends. Watership Down survives. The dream lives on, forever.
Is it canon? And so Woundwort is defeated on Watership Down, again. Only this time his army was not that of Ephrafa, and this time it was neither Fiver's visions nor Hazel's tactical genius that brought victory. It was literally a magic spell. Without that spell, the Warren on Watership Down would have been wiped out. By having Watership Down counterattack and destroy Ephrafa in the first episode of this third and last season, with Woundwort surviving, the entire dynamic of the episodes that follow is that of an interbellum, a period of time between wars. Because Woundwort, having survived the destruction of Ephrafa, of course, is not done. And the fact that Woundwort's new army is more than Watership Down can defeat, with only direct supernatural intervention being able to change this outcome, changes the entire basis of who the heroes of Watership Down are in this version, and why. They are the eternally young Pipkin, with his ability to persuade other species to help them, the reluctant psychic warrior Fiver, Hannah the mouse who gains the magic, and of course Silverweed, who sacrifices his youth to save Watership Down. Hazel's tactical thinking proves ultimately irrelevant, and Bigwig's willingness to fight Woundwort single-handed makes no difference to the outcome. So, overall, obviously not canon. As I have said before, we have now reached the furthest point we will from the original story. And now it is time to return to it. Next time, we look back over the Watership Down TV series and forward to what comes next.